It looks like I am live. Thank you for joining me. This is Tammy Morrison. I am so grateful to be here. I am coming on today because I'm going to continue in reading with Dr. Joseph Murphy's book, Psychic Perceptions. And we're going to continue reading on chapter 17. I'm so excited to do this because this book is so much fire, y'all. Oh my God, it's so much fire. Let me fix myself up. All right, so this is Tammy. In case you don't know, in case you're stumbling on this video on whatever platform you're watching it on, because we are live on Facebook and we are live on YouTube. And so I am here just sharing a little bit about this book because this book is so much fire. It has helped me to change my lives in many ways, and I hope that it helps you as well. So, what I want to share with you is that this book, Psychic Perceptions, now it has an ominous title, and some people have issues with the word psychic, but we are all psychic. We all have those gifts. So let's get over that. Let's move past that. And let's look at this for what it is. This book actually interweaves the Bible as well as wisdom, as well as metaphysical principles in here, which are based on the Bible as well, based on God's word. So we're going to talk about Psychic Perception, Chapter 17. I'm going to go ahead and start reading now. Thank you for joining me. And if you don't mind, wherever you are watching from, if you are watching me live, hit hashtag live and tell me where you're watching from because I really love to know who is watching me all over the planet. So, and also if you come on and you watch the replay, hit hashtag replay and tell me where you are watching from. Because like I said, I absolutely just love to see where people are watching all over the planet. So with that out of the way, housekeeping done, let's get started. And I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Friday. Mine is very good, to be honest. I actually just got up and moving because I needed that rest. It was calling me, I needed it, so I allowed my body to have it. So here we are, psychic perception. And the thing is I do that because there were times when I did not have time to allow my body to rest. And I'm paying the price for that. I'm sure. I'm sure that I paid the price for just going, pushing when there were times when I needed to chill. And I needed to allow my body to rest. I need to allow my mind to rest. And that is the space that I have found myself in at this time. So when the time comes and I need to allow my body to rest or allow my mind to rest, then I do so. So moving on, we're going to start on Psychic Perception, Chapter 17, Dr. Joseph Murphy. And I am reading the book, so I will not be able to respond to comments until after I'm done reading the chapter. We're going to read chapter 17 today. So chapter 17 is how to let psychic perception make your desires come true. Now this is a topic that I am super interested in, and I know that many people that are watching me are super interested in it as well. So we're going to get started. It is all right to have a dream, an ideal, or a goal. You must have a solid foundation under your aspirations, otherwise they become idle fantasy, which waste your energy and debilitates your entire organism. There are many men and women who do not know where they are going and who have not risen above their childhood dreams. Somehow their fantasies become enmeshed and confused with reality, and they have difficulty in differentiating one from the other. Hence their need for using their psychic perception. How she made her dream a reality by calling on her subconscious mind. Some months ago, I interviewed a young woman in Las Vegas, Nevada. On my return to that city where I am writing this chapter, she visited me to tell me how she had made her dream come true. On her first interview with me, she said that she was constantly daydreaming about being a movie star with valets, servants, limousines, maids, and butlers at her command. Yet she admitted she had no talents along the line of acting. She was emotionally immature and had simply carried over into her adult life a childish image of being a famous movie princess. Sorry, I gotta put this charger on his phone. I suggested, she had numerous affairs with men. Each of whom had promised her a movie career with men, each of whom had promised her a movie career, but she inevitably discovered that they were simply using her, which resulted in frustration and complete disillusionment on her part. I suggested that she now use constructively the talent she had. She could type very well, also, her ability at shorthand was excellent. I pointed out to her at the first interview that she should come down to earth and be practical and cease dwelling in the marble mansions in the sky. I suggested that she affirm as follows: infinite intelligence opened up the door to the perfect door for my full expression, where I am giving of my talents in a wonderful way and I am divinely compensated. I claim I am wanted, needed, loved, and cherished by a wonderful husband, and I contribute to his success and happiness in a wonderful way. I explained to her that as she repeated these affirmations, they would sink down into her subconscious mind, and the deeper currents of her subconscious would bring her desires to pass. A clear cut lead came into her mind. Subsequently, this young lady attended a social gathering in Las Vegas and there met a professor of English who asked her to become his secretary. She is now married to him and is extremely happy. That lead that came to her was a deep, almost compelling psychic impulse to attend the social function for which she had previously turned down an invitation. The wisdom of her subconscious perceptive mind knew how to fulfill her dreams and bring them to pass. She is no longer building castles in the air. She knows how to construct a foundation under them. So let me pause here for a second and I want to commentate on this. So this young lady, she was in the clouds and all of this stuff. And the thing is you can be there, but you also have to know that there are things that you have to do on this human earth in order to get the things that you desire. I mean, you can also speak the word, and that is what she did because she spoke these affirmations and they impressed upon her subconscious mind and gave her the action that she then took in order to fulfill that destiny. So, that is one of the keys, and that's one thing I want to point out about this particular section. So, how Dave built a solid foundation. Today, I had dinner with an old friend, Dave, who directs a most progressive and enlightened congregation. One Sunday morning, many years ago, Dave came to one of my lectures at the Wilshire Eagle Theater, Los Angeles. He became intensely interested in the teaching and shortly thereafter became chief usher in the organization where he remained for many years. Dave had been in the musical theater field and had degrees along these lines, but he was dissatisfied and frustrated in his efforts to rise above just making ends meet. I suggested to Dave that inasmuch as he was wildly enthusiastic about the inner meaning of the Bible and the workings of the subconscious mind, I believed he would be a tremendous success in the ministerial field. This idea rang a bell in Dave's subjective mind, and he took the 5 years of training necessary to become a minister of religious science. He became an instantaneous success for the simple reason that he is now doing what he loves to do and is divinely happy and divinely prospered. He fell heir to one of the most beautiful churches in the state following the resignation of its chief pastor. He now conducts youth programs, science of mind classes twice weekly, and Sunday morning lectures. His organization is growing by leaps and bounds. He told me that he has never been so happy in his life and he is extraordinarily successful in his work in Las Vegas. His foundation technique. During his ministerial training, every night prior to sleep, he would sit still, immobilize his attention, and imagine that he was standing on a pulpit expounding the great truths of God to an imaginary audience. He felt the reality of this so much that before he was ordained, he said to me, I am absolutely convinced that I will have my own church and be the pastor. I sense it, feel it, and in a vision, I've seen the church and congregation about 100 times. I love this. And all this came to pass, thus proving what Thoreau had said many years ago. If any man will hold a picture in his mind of doing what he wants to do and will sustain that mental picture, the God power will develop it and bring it to pass. You too can build a real solid foundation under your heart's desire. Dave said to me today that he stresses to his own students that their castles in the air without a basic knowledge of the powers of the subconscious to bring them into being are as unsubstantial as whiffs of smoke. His reverse attitude and perception brought him assets of $250,000. I had a most interesting session with a man whom we shall call Mr. X, who had been phoning and corresponding with me for a short time. I gave him spiritual advice over the phone, and the following is the history of the case. He is the son of a very wealthy father in the East, who had been very cruel and autocratic, insisting that the son came up to his standards in the business. This young man had a neurotic hatred for his father and began to strike back by writing vitriolic articles about big business. Moreover, he went back east and lectured on the values of a communistic society to a club to which his father belonged, knowing that this would infuriate his father. His desire, as he said, was to strike back at his father. In the meantime, because of this emotional hostility and suppressed rage, plus his sense of guilt, he began to drink excessively, becoming an inebriate or compulsive drinker. He also developed ulcers and high blood pressure, and if that were not enough, he was on the verge of bankruptcy. My explanation over the phone of the reason for his action supplied 75% of his cure. He realized that he was being emotionally immature and was consuming alcohol to assuage his sense of guilt just as someone else would take aspirin for a headache. Actually, it suddenly dawned on him that he was literally destroying himself by attempting to hit back at his father's ideals and policies. He decided to reverse his attitude by following the technique of scientific prayer. He affirmed out loud frequently during the day, I surrender my father to God. I release him completely and wish him health, peace, success, and all the blessings of life. Whenever I think of him, I will affirm at once, I have released you. God's peace fills your soul. I am divinely guided. Divine law and order govern me. Divine love and divine peace saturate my soul. My food and drink are God's ideas, which constantly unfold within me, bringing me harmony, health, and peace. God thinks, speaks, and acts through me, and I am divinely expressed and fulfilled in all ways. He repeated these truths frequently out loud, which prevented his mind from wandering. Whenever any negative thoughts came to his mind, he would affirm, God loves me and cares for me. After a few weeks, he became a constructive thinker. His movie technique. Every night, for about 10 minutes in a perfectly relaxed state, he imagined I was in front of him, congratulating him on his freedom from alcohol. Whenever the shakes and the jitters seized him with the craving for another drink, thank you for joining me, Michelle. For another drink, he would cause to flash in his mind the mental movie, knowing there was an almighty power backing him up. It was only a matter of a few weeks until he was completely free from the curse of compulsive drinking. His new attitude changed everything. Today, 3 months later, at dinner with me in Las Vegas, he told me his business had prospered so well that his assets are worth over $200,000. His psychic perception had enabled him to make the correct and shrewd decisions necessary in accumulating a fortune. His facial tic was ruining his career. During a trip to Mexico and its famous pyramids, I met a minister who had pronounced facial tic, which was very aggravating and humiliating to him. He had received alcoholic injections which were supposed to deaden or paralyze the nerve, but after some months the tic flared up again. The condition became very acute when he spoke before his congregation or other social gatherings. He had reached the point where he was actually contemplating resigning because of the comments of the people and his own sense of embarrassment. After a prolonged discussion, however, I remarked that I had a deep inner feeling that he had pronounced sense of hurt plus a guilt complex which he was unwilling to face subjectively and objectively. This tic condition was affecting his right eye, which could possibly symbolize something he did not want to look at in his home or office. There was some reason why his subconscious was selecting his face and his right eye as a scapegoat. The situation needed his psychic perception to recognize how to deal with it. He admitted freely that he no longer believed in what he was teaching, which gave him a guilt complex. Moreover, he was afraid to resign because he felt he could not make a living outside the ministry. He deeply resented members of his board who criticized whenever he deviated from the orthodox standard of teaching. All this nervous pressure was converted by his subconscious mind into a tick. The affliction compensated him in a morbid way for his failure to be honest and forthright and admit to his congregation that he no longer believed according to the directives and dogma of the church. He freely admitted all this to me, and I suggested to him in turn that on the following Sunday, when he returned from his vacation, he should speak freely from the platform and tell his congregation that he was resigning since he no longer believed what he was preaching. He understood that to teach one thing and to believe another created a powerful negative conflict in his mind, resulting in mental and physical disorder. He spoke from the depths of his heart to his congregation and then resigned. In a letter to me, he said, I felt a tremendous relief and a great sense of peace came over me. My constant affirmation was, Thou wilt show me the path of my life. And one of my former board members gave me a position as personnel director for his organization, where I am happy. He added, What you said is true. Oftentimes, the explanation is the cure. If you have a problem, mental, physical, or emotional, ask yourself, what am I turning away from? What is it I don't want to face? Am I hiding my resentment and hostility to someone? Face the problem and solve it with psychic perception. Dissolve it in the light of God's love. So I'm going to pause right here and I want to just talk about that a little bit. So when you are going through something, and many times we have conditions and things that hit us, autoimmune, especially for our times now, because this was written, a long time ago. But for our times now, a lot of times it's autoimmune conditions, it's heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes is also one. And these are things that sometimes can happen because of the things that you're dealing with on the inside. Because what happens, and also I know this with like bumps and swells and things that pop up on your skin, because sometimes it is things that need to get out of you, and they find a way by getting in those particular spaces by coming out of a bump. My grandmother used to say that toxins have to come out, and they find a way to come out, and many times it's a bump or a pimple or blackhead or things like that. And also it can even be cancer, because what happens is when we live with unforgiveness and bitterness and things like that, those things are not normal and natural to our bodies, so they have to come out. And sometimes they manifest themselves in diseases and conditions and things that occur in our bodies. Anxiety, depression, IBS, all those things are simply um, manifestations of what's going on internally. So, moving on. She didn't have to be lonely. I once conducted a seminar at sea on the ship Princess Carla, which visited several ports in Mexico. I also conducted daily lectures and personal interviews. A young woman from New York City, although not a member of our seminar, interviewed me because she had read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. The subconscious of her conversation was that she was always attracting the wrong men. They were either alcoholics, married, or individuals suffering from sex deviation complexes. She was somewhat withdrawn, hostile, and on the defensive. I asked her a very simple question: What's eating you inside? Adding that is what the kahuna, a Hawaiian priest, always asks a person who visits him for healing. She blurted out, I hate my mother. When my brother died of scarlet fever, my mother said to me, Why wasn't it you? This was a terrific shock to the impressionable mind of a 13-year-old girl. Undoubtedly, the mother, in the anguish of grief, didn't really mean what she said when she reproached the girl because she, the only daughter living instead of her brother. The young lady, very attractive and charming, had met many men on the cruise, but was very critical of every one of them. She had what you might call a rejection complex, as she lived in the fear that she could not be loved. She expected to be rejected, not realizing what she feared would always be manifest. Underneath, she was hungry for companionship and wanted passionately to be appreciated, wanted, and loved. Her subconscious conflict stemmed back to her mother's critical remark, Why wasn't it you? We had a long chat in my cabin on the ship, and I pointed out to her in the past that the past was dead and that nothing mattered but this moment, that all she had to do was to change her present thoughts and keep them changed, and her future would be a perfect projection of her new habitual thinking, based on the premise that what we sow in the garden of our mind, so shall we reap in our experience. Accordingly, I outlined a pattern of affirmations for her, explaining to her that she must never deny what she affirmed. The affirmation was as follows: I know that the past is dead, and all I have to do is to fill my subconscious mind with life-giving patterns of thoughts, and all the negative and traumatic hurts of the past will be obliterated. I claim now that the infinite intelligence is guiding me and directing me, and that divine love fills my soul. I am inspired and illumined, and my hidden talents are revealed to me. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill to all men and women. I have much to give to man. I am honest, sincere. I appreciate a lovely home. I can cherish love and admire a man who has reverence for things divine. I love a beautiful home. I am economical and I can contribute in a wonderful way to a man who is also loving, kind, and peaceful. Whenever I think of my mother, I bless her. She is now in the next dimension of life, and I claim her journey is ever onward, upward, and Godward. I forgive myself for harboring resentful thoughts, and I know God loves me and cares for me. Whenever I am prone to criticize myself, I will immediately affirm God loves me and cares for me. I was pleasantly surprised when this young lady came to my lecture a few Sundays ago and introduced me to her husband, a retired captain of the British Navy. They are extremely happy and are now on a world cruise which will last about 8 months. She had absorbed these truths we discussed in her subconscious mind, and as she said, it was 1 hour of perception that transformed her life. It is true that you can be changed in the twinkling of an eye. Points to remember. It is all right to have a dream, but you must have a solid psychic foundation under the dream. Otherwise, it becomes idle fantasy. Learn what your talents are now. Face yourself as to your present capabilities and start from there. Then realize that you are divinely guided to your true expression and divinely compensated in a wonderful way. The answers will come from your subconscious mind, and you will recognize the lead which comes to you clearly and distinctly. If you hold a picture in your mind of what you want to be and dramatize it in your imagination, knowing that your subconscious mind will develop it and bring it to pass, and as you remain faithful to this mental picture, the way will open up and you will become that which you imagined and felt as true. You actually tend to destroy yourself physically and mentally by striking back at others or by seeking revenge. The answer is to release them to God, wishing for them all the blessings of life. If you are an alcoholic, forgive yourself for harboring negative thoughts and imagine some friend congratulating you on your freedom and peace of mind. As you continue to project this mental movie, your subconscious will take over and compel you to lose all desire or craving for alcohol. The law of your subconscious is compulsion, and whatever you impress upon it is expressed. You can control its compulsions with your psychic perception. A facial tic can be due to a deep seated resentment, plus a guilt complex and an unwillingness to face the conflict boldly and overcome it. The thing to do is to face it objectively with psychic perception in your own mind and be honest with yourself by refusing to believe and teach what you know and feel in your heart is not true. Claim that infinite intelligence within you opens up a new door of expression for you, and it will respond to you in divine order, and a desired healing will follow. When a woman hates her mother and dwells on old hurts and psychic traumas, she will attract to herself the wrong type of men based on the law that like attracts like. The thing for her to do is to realize that the past is dead. Nothing lives but this moment. As she changes her present thought, she will change the future, since her future is her present thoughts made manifest. So that was chapter 17. Tomorrow, or actually probably next week, I think I will start on chapter 18, the psychic perception of your past lives. Oh my God, I cannot wait for that one. It's going to be so much fun. Oh my God, thank you. So again, hey Megan, thank you for joining me here. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone that comes in, you guys that watch the replay, thank you for showing up. And make sure that you hit hashtag replay and let me know where you're watching from, because I love to know, who is watching me all over the planet. And, because I'm planning trips to go different places. Because if you don't know, travel is my love language. So you could see me, you could look up and see me anywhere on the planet because I love to travel. Matter of fact, I'm planning a vacation now for next month. So I'm super, super grateful and excited that you guys have joined me for this reading. This reading is so much fire. I could read this all day, but I know that my goal is to read for about 30 minutes because I know people don't have attention spans that are long. So, I honor that. And also, I honor your time because I know that, many people are on social media too much. And sometimes we need to curb it. Sometimes we need to, shut down. Sometimes we need to take a pause. I know all of those things, but I love this book and I wanted to share it with all of you because I know that as much as it has helped me, it will help you, especially if you listen to it and if you take the action. Because what I've done, and I have to share this, what I've done is I have gotten so many affirmations from this book, and I got a lot of things from The Game of Life and How to Play It. Florence Scovel Shinn, who is one of my favorite metaphysicians. But I've gotten so much out of them, and they have really helped to improve the quality of the life that I live. Wow. Wow. All right. So again, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to Mercury retrograde and all the retrogrades. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Because I was on I was on my page also on YouTube and it just went away. I mean on Facebook. So it just on my business page and just went away. But it's okay because it's here and you guys can catch it. And if you haven't heard the other chapters, make sure you go back and listen because they're all right here on my page and also they're on my YouTube channel. If you have access to my YouTube channel, which I'm going to drop